be seated. The cares of the world concern him no longer. He has completed this life, his work is done, his children grown. His family is well on their journey and happy and healthy in their pursuits. He had loved much and well. To those he leaves behind, you will remain in his heart as he does in yours. You took great care of him. Lifelong friends or someone new, you have all played a role in his life. Good afternoon and welcome. It is my honor to be your celebrant today as we celebrate the life of Michael Edward Toohey. John Marcel has written a few memories that I will share with you until the dust settles. Michael was my best friend. We came of age together, that period between being a kid and being an adult, or better said, preparing to be an adult. It was a time like no other where freedom was being redefined. We knew from the beginning we were familiars. We got to a point where we knew what the other was thinking and have come to know when it was time to check in. We met in Kelowna in 1971. He was there to go to school, and I was just landing on my feet again after a misadventure. We had been saying hi in passing a number of times, but this one time we were in the shop when it was closing, and the guy asked if we wanted to come over and listen to the new Emerson, Lake, and Palmer album. Well, Tarkus, Essence of Lebanon, and a turntable was all the chemistry that was needed to start a friendship, a brotherhood that would last over 50 years. Michael has many who see him as their best friend. That's the mark of the man. He was full and whole in his giving. He moved his family where I was once to make sure I would be all right. But the time I talk about now was in 1975. My heart was broken. I was lost. I was dusted by angels, as it was. I ended up at Michael's. He was sharing a house down on the river south of Coston with Kath, Larry, and TJ. I knew Kath and family from our Kelowna days. We became adventurers together, road trips and Dinah, hikes and just sitting and talking, throwing sticks for Ranger. Now there was a dog, a stick dog like no other. Michael and I would have to take turns throwing the stick because our arms would get tired. This period was marked by the idea that it would be better to be retired now than waiting until we were 65. It colored our summer and ideas. We were all sensing the changes that were coming, the ebb and flow of what life is. The truth, the responsibilities, the realizations about commitments, real and those that were but driven by circumstances. One of those circumstances was that as retirees, it is helpful to have a pension or something which we are indeed lacking. We decided to team up and pick pears and apples together. Pears we were smoking, but dang, they were heavy. Well, we were in shape for apples, which were lighter. We started with the Goldens. The bins were stacking up. We were truly professional agricultural technicians. Goldens you picked with soft hands. We wore white gloves. Now the red apples are coming, starting with Spartans, an apple that just falls in your hand when you pick it. I'm convinced we're going to make enough to be retired all winter. Well, that's not exactly what happened. The bins that first day didn't exactly pile up. We finished the day and headed into town for a high test and a game of pool. I asked, Michael, you feeling all right? Something's on your mind. Well, he looked across the table at me and told me he was colorblind. Couldn't see red or green. Needless to say, at the end of our season, I took off to Ontario for the winter to drive truck. I came back from Ontario in the late spring and found Michael and Kathy together. He told me his feet didn't touch the ground. He was happy. He always loved Kathy. He loved all of you, to be surrounded by so many friends. He has made us all better people. I think of Michael when he did step over the walk, that path to the sunny meadow with a gentle breeze. I'm sure it brought a tear to his eye when he saw a ranger there waiting with a stick in his mouth. I wonder if your arm gets tired there. Peace. I'd like to call Don Faraday up to read a scripture, please.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 to 11. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to tear down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war, and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity into the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from the beginning to end.
Thank you, Don. Next, I'll have Alex Toohey up to share a poem and some memories.
To distill my Uncle Mike's life into a single virtue is impossible. He was taken far too early, yet he had more lived experience than a lifetime. He was compassionate, gentle, humble, empathetic, and loved everyone unconditionally. He lived with grace. But one thing stood out to me. Mike was always present. If it was a birthday, he was there. If it was a game, recital, or concert, he was there. If it was a family function, he was there. If you needed a helping hand or a listening ear, he was there. If you needed someone, Mike was there. And not only was he there in body, but he had the incredible gift of making you feel like you were the only thing that mattered when you spoke. He left this life, and he left an emptiness that's difficult to fill. Yet I know he's still present, because he's always there. When you need someone, Mike will be there. He might not always be on time, but he'll be there. Mike loved music and poetry and literature, and so here's a short little poem that captures this sentiment nicely. Feel no guilt in laughter, he'd know how much you care. Feel no sorrow in a smile that he knows he's not there to share. You cannot grieve forever, he would not want you to. He'd hope that you could carry on the way you always do. So talk about the good times, the way you showed you cared, the days you spent together, all the happiness you shared. Let memories surround you, a word someone may say will suddenly recapture a time, an hour, a day. That brings him back as clearly as though he were there and fills you with the feeling that he is always near. For if you keep those moments, you'll never be apart, and he will love you forever, locked safely in your heart.
Thank you, Alex. Megan Toohey will also share her story.
To our dearest Uncle Mike. Sorry. To communicate with you in any other manner, I think would be incomplete. A letter gives so much more than a formalized essay or a structured obituary. A letter allows us to personalize the way we wish to address your sudden passing. A letter can assure that we get a response back, not in a physical form, but by listening to the very nature of our hearts and souls, in which you will so holistically linger in. A letter records a passage in time by summarizing the basis of one's essence and the moments which grieve us, yet settle us in ways only matters of the universe can console. In a letter, dear Uncle Mike, we are ascribed to you in your legacy in ways only words can delegate. As a master of many talents and a friend to many, you, our Uncle Mike, have always had the most Shakespearean way with words that cultivated and invoked a sense of belonging and kinship to all you spoke to. That is a gift not from a mortal being, but given by the blessings of a gracious God. You have a gift of speaking to anyone of any age. Your forte was in providing your undiluted wisdom to all you spoke to. So soft-spoken, so humble, yet every word you uttered resonated deep within the embers of your loved ones' souls. You have no clue how much guidance you provide to all you meet. Your modesty has made you shy of the effect you have had on all those who have met you. And for that, Uncle, I think we can all say thank you. Neil Young once sang of searching for a heart of gold, and I think he has been searching forever because he has never known you. Uncle Mike, you had the purest of heart, the most authentic heart of gold that I wish you could have given to everyone. You have taught us the wisdom of laughter, of politics, of music, and of loyalty to those you love. That is something you don't learn from literature or the news, but rather from knowing you. We have all known how to lose, and unfortunately in this selfish year, we have known that grief far too familiarly. Yet your wise and expedient philosophy has strengthened this family in a way that will bind us forever because of your steadfast love. As the head of a big family, you bear the inextricable consequences of inhabiting each and every one of our burdens as your own. But, Uncle, in this time, you must know that you have selflessly given us your warm and emotional legacy. To treat one another as you have treated us is an understatement. Despite all familial differences, you help us take comfort in the embraces of our large and amiable family and treat one another as you have treated us. You are a free soul. You belong here nor there, yet everywhere you go, its environment welcomes you because you are you. You are giving and warm, intellectual, understanding, and passionate. And I only wish you can know what it is to lose somebody such as you. In my tumultuous years, you have always been a constant for me. Seeing your little Nissan drive down Twin Willow's driveway, and hearing you say, "Hi, honey," and hearing your great, personable laugh is something that will never leave my ears. In fact, I think it is the greatest harmony one could ever hear, and I hear it every time I listen to the summer breeze and the crackling of a bonfire. You brought closure and friendship to my family, and you had such an impact on my mom and dad and us with your weekly visits. I am sure you have figured they will be deeply missed. I know you know we love you, but you don't know how much it meant to me when you drove me to my graduation because my parents couldn't, or when you moved me into my college house to help your brother because he broke his leg the day before. You have no idea how much pertinence those monumental moments have established who I am. Each grandchild that belongs to you exhibits your doting and intellectual essence. They carry your essence while also exhibiting their very own charisma that you have taught, or that you have taught them to embrace. That uncle is something that an artist cannot paint, nor a writer can write. That is the ultimate power of unconditional love. In our grievances, we often forget to speak of the warm times. It is always so easy to reminisce about the time you could have spent together, rather than the time you did spend together. And so, though inadequate in representation, we will all try to recollect each fond memory in the time we had with you. You knew how to relate and speak to the individual you talked to. Whether it's been months since you had spoken, or even just days, how did you know, Uncle, to say the right things, to ask the right questions? Like I stated earlier, that I suppose is your most beautiful gift from God. Most important, Uncle, I think we, as your nieces and nephews, have developed our own relationship with you, that it is hard to pinpoint what exactly it was that made us connect with you. As a dedicated observer and a faithful friend, I think it was your ability to listen and sympathize with each you spoke to. Sympathy is an interesting thing. You don't just need it in your low times. You need it as you shape who you are and who you become. You, Uncle Mike, were able to appeal to this form of sympathy as your young ones struggled to define who they were, and like the loving being you were. You always made us feel as if whoever we were to become, you would love us unconditionally. I believe that saying goodbye is one of the hardest things that a family can endure. In our family, goodbyes last up to 30 minutes, and even then, I can't help but miss each uncle and cousin and aunt I hug. But when a death is encroached upon a family, well, how do you deal with that? I often look to you. I read your body language, your kind smile, your soft spirit in the face of hard confrontations. But most importantly, you were always kind. You never, ever wavered in your kindness. That is the legacy I hope to live up to for the rest of my life. Life will throw us hardship, joy, anger, and happiness, sometimes in unbalanced measures. However, you remained constant, you remained positive and hopeful. That is because you love unconditionally. You are so encouraging. You seem to always believe in the importance of tenderness and regarded our trivialities with that tenderness. When I hear the quote, "You are the only version of you to ever exist in the universe. You are great, you are powerful, you are special," I think of it as your goodbye letter to all of us, because you made us believe that we were unique and that we could change the world one day. Uncle, you changed my world and my perspective. and I promise you, I will commit each day of my life to making you proud of the woman I am becoming. I'd like to conclude my letter with an original poem that came to me as I was listening to Across the Universe by the Beatles, because that song makes me think of you. Despite your passing, our world has changed and we will too, but nothing will change the world you created for us by having you as our son, brother, husband, father, uncle, grandfather, and BFF. The sun will always set, and the summer will always end. But after the sun has set and risen again, the songbirds will warm their vocals and sing their recurring morning tune. And the willows will begin to lose their leaves, but snow will cover the brown earth and start a new beginning. In the meantime, the warm glow of the harvest moon and the coming of a thankful autumn will arouse all that we remember in you and draw us nearer to the essence of your soul and the warmth of your smile. If ever I shall feel lonely, I will look to the setting of the sun and cling to the warmth of a summer night that so willingly leaves reminders of you and the human being that you had become. In the winter and the spring, I will look forward to the warmth you will bring, and when May turns to June and dead leaves begin to bloom. Always and forever, you will be the setting of the sun and the beginnings of a new season. But most importantly, you will always be the reasons to embrace in the seasons and the growth that is to come. I love you forever. Sincerely, Meg.
Thank you, Megan. I'd like to call Thomas Toohey up to share the eulogy.
Hello, I'm Tom. It is an honor to pay tribute today to my dear brother, Michael Edward Toohey. Mike was the firstborn of 7 Toohey children. At the age of 14, Mike was uprooted from city life in Edmonton when our parents moved us to the family farm near Wetaskiwin. Although this was a big adjustment for a teenager, Mike's outgoing personality made his transition easier. He quickly formed lifelong friendships with schoolmates in Wetaskiwin. The 60s were a time of cultural and music change, and Mike would often tell me how cool it was to be part of that as a teenager. As a young man, Mike tried his hand at many things: picking fruit, carpentry, and working on the oil rigs, just to name a few. After he and Kathy married and had their family well underway, Mike decided to take an extraordinary step. He applied himself to obtaining a university degree in education. Mike traveled daily for 4 years to Edmonton and Camrose to attend university lectures to earn his degree, which he did with flying colors. Teaching was his calling. He had such a way with children, and he applied his talents where he thought they were needed the most, teaching Indigenous children. Mike also had a yearning to be an entrepreneur. In addition to his teaching career, he got involved with several ventures to establish new industries. For years, he was involved with marketing and promoting quinoa, a new cereal crop in Canada. He traveled throughout the prairies to meet with farmers and others to introduce them to this crop. Later, Mike formed a partnership with a fellow he had met to produce and market packaged gravy. The fellow was a cook and had developed a formula to package real gravy concentrate. Mike's drive in his production and his marketing skills got the business up and running. For years, Mike traveled the entire province, promoting and delivering their product to grocery stores. I have so much admiration for the grit and determination he had, establishing these new ventures and never giving up. Mike was passionate about many things. This included his love of family, his friendships, his teaching career, and of course, music. He absolutely loved music. He was knowledgeable about many types of music genres, and at a very young age, he took it upon himself to educate and instill that love of music in me. I remember as kids, Mike may have been 15 or 16, I would have been 12, listening to music into the wee hours of the night in the downstairs bedroom that we shared. He introduced me to some great music at that time: Led Zeppelin, the band, the Beatles, and on and on. As adults, we often traded texts on great music we had discovered. Mike and Kathy rarely missed an opportunity to travel to the many great Alberta folk fests held each year. I have so many great memories of time spent with Mike. Probably the most memorable would be the many fishing trips we took together over the years with family and friends. For many years, we would travel to northern Alberta and beyond to fish. Fishing all day, eating our catch, and drinking and laughing all night long, only to repeat the same routine the next day and the next. And then, of course, the fishing trip of a lifetime. Australia was all of that. 4 brothers traveled around the globe to join our youngest brother, Matt. We spent many days fishing in the ocean, touring Western Australia, and more importantly, laughing and enjoying ourselves. Mike loved Australia so much that he often thought he would go back over there for a time and teach the Aboriginal children. Everyone feels pain with his passing because he touched so many people on a personal level. People were drawn to Mike. I have friends in Calgary who met him once, and they've always asked about him. They considered him their friend. He made you feel special, and he was truly interested in you in a genuine and sincere way. Those 2 words, genuine and sincere, are so descriptive of my brother. Mike was also the most uninhibited person I have ever known when it came to showing his love and affection. There were no handshakes with Mike. It was a big warm hug and an I love you. He was our leader, he spoke for us, and he looked out for us. As kids, I remember many times he and his cool older buddies would let me tag along. They didn't want me there, but Mike always made sure I was included. He loved me unconditionally. For the past several decades, our brother Bill and his family have owned the family farm, and it held a very special place in Mike's heart. Mike loved spending time out there with Bill, Mel, and their family. And he loved helping out with the many projects one has on a farm. Mike's love for Kathy was undeniable. Whether together or apart, they were always best friends. His greatest pride was for his boys. He often spoke of his sons to me. He was proud of the men they had become and what they have accomplished. And his face would absolutely light up when he bragged about his grandchildren. Recently, we brothers and sisters enjoyed a trip together to Mexico. A person doesn't realize when life is happening that it could be the last time you see someone, or in our case, the last vacation you might enjoy with your sister and brother. So be kind and patient with people, love them and respect them like my brother did. He was a fine man, loved by so many, and he will be missed by so many. I love you, brother.
Thank you, Tom. I have some more memories to share. These are from Annie and Don Smith. We know that many people are remembering Michael as their best friend, and that is a measure of what kind of friend Michael was and how special those relationships were to him. We have never thought of Michael in that way because to us, he and Kathy are family. When we look through our photo albums, Michael is a constant thread woven in and out over the years. Thanksgiving and Christmas, dinners, baptisms, birthday celebrations, graduations, Ukrainian Easter egg making, chilly nights cheering at our kids' soccer games, rushed trips to emergency with one son or another. Kathy and Michael knew that our own families were far away, so they generously shared their extended families with us as well. Kovat's birthday celebrations, Toohey family golf tournaments, potlucks, beer, campfires. We got to share in the warmth of their family ties. And every summer, the folk festival with Dawn and Michael, spending hours delighting in analyzing performances and talking music. Projects, jobs, bonfires, ups and downs. We saw each other at our best and worst and continued to love each other because that's what family does. Thank you, Michael, for all the years, for all the joys and the sorrows, for sharing our journey. The family has put together a slideshow. Please enjoy the pictures and the music.
trucking, got my chips stashed in. Keep trucking, like the doodah man. Together, more or less in line. Just keep trucking on.
Arrows of neon and flashing marquees out on Main Street. Chicago, New York, Detroit, and it's all the same street. A typical city involved in a typical daydream. Hang it up and see what tomorrow brings.
Dallas got a soft machine. Houston, too close to New Orleans. New York got the ways and means and just won't let you be.
Most of the cats that you meet on the street speak of true love. Most of the time they're sitting and crying at home. One of these days they know they gotta get going. Out of the door and down to the street all alone.
Chugging like the doodah man once told me, you got to pay your hand. Sometimes the cards ain't worth a dime if you don't lay 'em down. Sometimes the light's all shining on me. Other times I can barely see. Lately it occurs to me, what a long, strange trip it's been.
What in the world ever became of Sweet Jane? She lost her sparkle, you know she isn't the same. Living on Reds, vitamin C and cocaine. All a friend can say is ain't it a shame?
Trucking up the Buffalo, been thinking you got to never slow. It takes time to pick a place to go. Childhood living is easy to do. The things you wanted, I bought them for you. Graceless lady, you know who I am. You know I can't let you slide through my hands. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. Wild, wild horses couldn't drag me away. I watched you suffer a dull aching pain. Now you decided to show me the same. No sweet thing exists. Oh, I've stayed don't have much time. Faith has been broken. Tears must be cried. Let's do some living after we die. Wild horses couldn't drag me away. Wild horses, we'll ride them someday.
I'm lonesome but happy, rich but I'm broke, and the good Lord knows the reason. I'm just a cowpoke from Cheyenne to Douglas, the ranges I know, 'cause I drift with the wind, no one cares where I go. I ain't got a dime in these old worn out jeans, so I'll stop eating steak and I'll go back to beans. I'll pick up a 10 spot in Prescott, I know, riding the broncs in the big rodeo. Some evening in the springtime, a filly all fine, I might spend all summer with her on my mind. I'll never be branded and never be broke. I'm a carefree range riding, drifting cowpoke.
It's so great to see those old pictures. We get to see the pieces of Michael's life that we may not have seen before. Memories are what keeps us alive in each other's minds. We'll be heading over to the fellowship hall for a light lunch and a chance to share your stories, your memories of Michael with each other. Be sure to tell his family, and especially his grandchildren, so they can hear more about their grandpa. On behalf of Michael's family, thank you for being here this afternoon. Thank you for the support, and please reach out to them in the coming months. I'm going to be leading the family out, and I'd ask that you follow in behind us. Take care.